Hello, everybody. I'm back again. Um, I thought this evening I would make a video about the resilience of a person when they have been going through hard times and still able to make it back again. I don't know, this is a very sensitive topic to me because I've been through very many ups and downs and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's thousands, maybe millions of people just like me. I mean, have you ever felt like you have been through so much and you feel like there's no way out? Like you're being punched over and over and over and over again, and you keep on getting knocked down. How do you get yourself back up? How does it make you into the person you are? Honestly, I have to say it makes you a stronger person in the end. Because if you're able to stand and to deal with all and many struggles, many hardships, many difficulties in your life, and you're able to still stand up and still keep going, it makes you a stronger person in the end, and maybe even wiser. Um, m- I mean, most of my life, I'm gonna make my life as an example. I mean, it wasn't easy. I came from, I'm not going to say my family is bad because they're not. My mom tried her best. My dad tried his best, you know? But as kids, we don't see it, until we get older and we experience life for ourselves. And then we start to see the real picture of everything. We start to see things in a different light. But I always gave my parents a hard time. Not in a bad way, because I never swore at them. I never called them bad names, because if I did, I would never see tomorrow. I don't know how half these kids are able to do that and get away with it. I don't know. I would not get away with it. I mean, if someone wasn't getting me from my parents, my family, the rest of my family would be getting at me. They'd be whipping my butt cheeks. But there's no discipline anymore, sadly. But I know my dad was in the military, and it was hard because most kids want their father and their mother. They do. They want both of them. And my mother did have a habit of drinking a lot. Wasn't, she was a party girl, but she didn't realize that it did affect us in some way, especially when it was too much, because then she wasn't herself. But she was a beautiful woman, regardless. um, we just had hard times when my father was gone too, because it was just my mom and she was trying her best to do everything mostly by herself. And this was her first time really raising children for herself. And it wasn't easy for her. Um, she didn't do bad. Um, I mean, she didn't, she had her good points, and she had her points where I learned personally things I don't want to do. I will never do. But um but eventually when my father did come back, he was, having an affair. Um my mother knew it. I think we knew it too. And when our parents did divorce, and you see your mom with a different guy, you see your dad with a different woman, most kids are definitely going to give the step parent or the significant other a hard time. I don't know why we do that. Maybe it's because we want our parents to be together, but realizing, mm-mm, maybe it wasn't meant to be, maybe lots of things. Because I remember as a child, I don't ever remember my parents showing that affection for each other like two people that love each other. I don't ever remember seeing that. And maybe that is a reason, but I know the reason my father tried to stick it out is for us. My father loved us, and he still does. And I know he probably did have some affection for my mom, but it was just, my mom was a hard woman too. She was very stubborn, very bullheaded, very strong-minded. And sometimes you had to have a lot of patience to deal with her. You did. But as I got older, you know, so young, I was on my own. My father couldn't deal with me. So he didn't want me to go to my mom. So he put me into foster care. I was mad at him for that for a little bit. I was very mad. Because why do I need to be in These people really wanted to adopt me. And I refused it because I was like, I have a family. I know my father doesn't really want to give me up. Not like that. I don't think my father even knew. But it was just no way. It was just too much. And then he shipped me to my auntie in San Antonio, Texas, from England. I was about 13 years old, almost 13. And I had a hard time. I had a hard time, and so did my Aunt Minerva. She just lost her husband. She lost her husband, and she's dealing with one son, which is not all mind. His mind wasn't. I'm sorry, but there's something I don't want to bring up that happened, but I had to find my way out of there. And I called my father to see if I can go live with my mom, and that's something he didn't want. But eventually I did land up there. And that was a big mistake too. I love my mom, but I just didn't like all the drinking, and I didn't like that stuff because when they drank too much. And when you drink too much, your mind starts to get not right. You know, my mom's significant other, um, when he drank too much, he would become very verbally and could become physically aggressive. And then my mother she would go into a depressive state and blame the whole world for everything falling apart in her life. And then she'd just be loud. And I didn't like it. But I loved my mom. Because she can be a beautiful person when she wasn't drinking so much. She was a very lovely woman. She really was. Without the drink. Without so much of it. It's not wrong to drink. It's just when it becomes too much. Then it starts to mess with the mind and you're not your real person that you really are. Some people take different effects in how it goes with them. Some people just become lazy and fall asleep. They call them a peaceful drinker. My mom, unfortunately, was not a peaceful drinker. She was a loud drinker, and she goes into a depressive state. And then my mother's significant other became verbally abusive and very physical abusive could be. And I wasn't going to deal with that no more. So when I turned 17 years old, I went on my own. Couldn't do it no more. But eventually, when I turned I think it was 18, gonna be 19, I finally gained a relationship back with my mom. I still didn't like the drinking. Um, but I tried to look for the good. I tried to look for the good in her. 'Cause she was a beautiful woman, like I said. When she wasn't drinking so much, she was beautiful. But when the drink took her over, she was another person, and I didn't like it. Ay, ay, ay. But never, never in my life have I ever called them bad names like half these kids do today. I've seen kids in the store calling their mom the F word, the B word. I ain't got a listen to you. I was like, what? I swear, if I would have said that, that's one thing I respect about my father. When two parents land up divorced, sometimes things don't land up so great, and one parent is talking bad about the other and calling them names and all sorts of stuff. My my dad never did that. He was peaceful. He tried to stay away from conflict and try to make it um, less hard on us as kids. He didn't want us to deal with that. I don't blame him, honestly. That's one thing I respect about him. Never did he say any bad words about her or anything in front of us. I'm not sure what he said in when we weren't there. But when we were there, he would never talk down about my mother. Never. He always had something good to say or positive, which I think my father knew the good side of my mom. And he knew that she had some really good things about herself. And I know that too. So, but I guess that was my mother's way of running away from things is to drink it. And I think, how many people say that when kids come from two parents that do drink and do things like that, we have a high percentage in following suit. Well, guess what? I didn't follow suit. I don't even drink. I don't like to drink. The only time I only got drunk one time when I was 31 years old. And I didn't even know there was liquor in this drink. I guess it was some sort of fruit drink. And my ex-sister-in-law put liquor. She put liquor And my ex-brother-in-law put liquor in the drink. And I didn't know that because you can't taste it. All you taste, all you were able to taste was the fruit. And it was so good that I had big cup like this, two of them. And it was big. By the end of the day, I was so messed up. I couldn't even lay down. I was hovering over the toilet bowl, getting sick. And I couldn't even eat the next day because my stomach was a mess. I don't know how people do that. How do people handle drinking so much and wake up the next day and still drink it? Ugh. And not feel any effect from, oh my gosh, I couldn't do it. I was like, how do people do this? Never again. Never again am I ever going to take a drink from anybody but myself. But that was my first experience ever. At least I knew I was just a goofball and I wanted just to go to sleep. And I was hovering over the toilet and couldn't sleep. I couldn't even eat anything the next day. I don't know how people do this. But after that, never. I don't like to drink. And I've never done drugs. I don't like it. Never smoked a cigarette because here I am trying to take my mom and hide her cigarettes on her because she couldn't even make it up the stairs without coughing up phlegm in a cup. It turned me off. So I promised myself I was never gonna follow suit with that. And I'm kind of glad I didn't because really it rips the youth right out of you and it causes health issues. At least I ain't got to worry about that health issue, but I do have to worry about asthma because I think it's because my parents were smoking around me when I was little. And back then, they didn't have education back then about what cigarettes and stuff can do to you. So they thought it was normal. It's okay. Not a big deal. Not realizing later on, people would eventually be educated what cigarettes are doing to you is causing you cancer, is causing you lung issues, is causing you all sorts of other problems. Um, and I choose not to follow suit. And I never have, and I never will. Um, and then also I had children um earlier in my life where I don't think anyone is really fully ready for having children. I don't think they are. Even if you try to be ready, there is never such thing as being ready fully because you don't know what to expect. Each child is different, each labor is different. You just don't know. One pregnancy you can go through a depressive state. I forgot what they called that word. Ah, but yeah, you will go through a depressive mood, and then another you'd be fine. Another pregnancy, you could no problem. Or if you have a C-section, oh, that's the worst. Honestly, even though it's painful going through normal birth, at least after the birth, all the pain is gone. It's all gone, disappeared. But when you have a C-section, that pain is still there because now it's like a surgery. Now you're having to heal not from just giving birth, but also have to heal a surgery at the same time. It's painful. But I gave birth to my first son. I just turned 19 in October and I had him in November. Um, and I was I was young. I was naive. The first person, no, I would say the second really, but that really wanted, a relationship with me, I finally just took it. And all I know is I was pregnant. I was done. So I tried to make things right, and I would stick with him for 15 years. That was at first I didn't think about it. You know what I'm saying? This is the father to my children because he was legally still a married man. He was separated, but then he eventually did get divorced so he can marry me. So to make things right in God's eyes, make it right in everybody's eyes. When we had our third child, we finally did get married, and that should have never have happened. Ah, because even before we got married, I think we kind of had a little issue before we got married, and I should have known right then it shouldn't have happened. Ugh. But it did eventually land up in divorce. Um, and of course, there's a lot of reasons why. He cheated on me once, and I never thought he would do that, but then he started to become physical abusive to his children. Then I would always have to stand in the way because he wouldn't do it to me because he knew I would give him a good one. He knew it. So he would do it when I'm not there, but when he was there, he knew I would defend them and I would step in the way and I would take the blow first before they would take it. No, I couldn't do that no more. And it's enough that my oldest son was following suit because their father was disrespecting me as a person. My sons, it's amazing how a man is a very big role model in a kid's life. And if he's disrespecting the mother to the children, especially the males, a lot of them do follow suit. I don't know why, but they follow suit. They think it's normal. It's okay. I can disrespect my mom. What? My father's doing it. They think it's normal. And finally, I had enough. I don't know. And then I met my second husband. Um, we were happy. We were married for like 12 years, almost 12 years before he passed away. It would have been about 13 years now, but it was almost 12 years before he passed away. The only thing that really I didn't like, and he knew it, was his drinking. I mean, they do say that, I don't know why, but I think some of them are probably right, is like if you're raised in a family also that drinks, you might end up marrying somebody that does the same thing. And I did. I did. He knew I didn't like it. Um, and I told him many times, you're gonna hurt yourself, you know. And he says, I know, and he tried to help himself. He tried, and it was too late. It was too late. His liver wasn't functioning anymore very well, and his liver was slowly um, shutting down the rest of his organs inside him, and he was basically slowly dying, just a little by little. Wow, that was the hardest point in my life when my so many people that were so dear to me passed away. No, in the maximum of 10 years. First, it was my son. That was devastating to me. My son passed away when I gave birth to him. I was able to look at him and hold him before I had to bury him. The worst experience ever for any parent to have to deal with. And then it was my brother. He passed away. My beautiful Uncle Keith. My mom. My mom passed away from cancer. And then my husband passed away from liver failure. There's only so much they could do for him because it was gone. And I don't know. But how I made it out of that in one piece, I'm still trying to understand it. Sometimes you just wanna I did go through depressive state multiple times and try to come out of it in one piece, and I have. But you never forget because it's always here. It's always in here. Um, and I remember my sister asking me, "How do you do it? How did you do it? How you're so, And I had no one to turn to. I had not no one. Not really. It was just me, and I I disseclude myself for a little bit. I went through a very, very bad depressive state. But then I had to get myself back up. And I had to keep on trying to live my life, but never forgetting the people that I love dearly in my life, and never forgetting the beautiful times that we had, the good times, even the complicated times, but we learned to deal with each other. With what? With communication. Communication is always key with everything. When you're able to talk and you're able to communicate effectively, it's amazing how things work out good. Sometimes that other person has to accept that you don't see things the way that they see them. You see things a little differently. And just because you love that person doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that they say. But doesn't mean you have to be nasty either. It's how you communicate it across to each other. So, communication, understanding, self control, and patience in understanding that person and compromising differences is key. But how I made it out in one piece out of that, I'm still trying to understand it myself. I've been on my own for the last 3 years now. Yeah. But hopefully things will get better for me. Um, Eventually here. I mean, like I said, I am seeing someone, but or talking to someone. Eventually I'd be able to really see them in person. That'd be nice. But to see, how that goes. But right now, I'm still I'm still trying to figure out me. I'm still trying to figure out what I really who I am as a person, what I want to do, where I want to go, who I am really within myself. I never in my life had a chance to figure out where or who I am as a person because I never had a chance to do those things, to experience the inner self of myself. You know what I'm saying? But I know ever since I was a little girl up until now, I remember some family members telling me that I'm a wild spirited person, very strong and very strong minded. And maybe they're right. Now, I think the reason I am strong within myself is because of all the experiences I had to deal with through my life. And it started from a young age. Some of it was very ugly, and some of it was good, and I learned from experience things I want to do in my life and some good role models that were in my life. And then some things that I experienced that was not so good and which I refuse to follow suit. So I'm that stubborn to refuse to follow suit. I guess I may be stronger than I think I am. I'm still trying to figure myself out though. Figure out where I want to go in life still, what I want to do, um, where I'm going, and who I am within myself. Still experiencing things, experiencing new things in my life, and the more experiences I gain in my life, good or bad, I learn from them, and it makes me a stronger person in the end, and it makes me wiser. So every time I learn something new, I gain strength, I gain wisdom, and that would be the same for many of you. Has anyone ever asked you that? Why are you so strong? How did you make it out of that? Out of your situation in one piece and still able to keep yourself together? Has anyone ever asked you that? It's amazing how strong we are as people from every experience that we gain. Believe me, there was one time when I was 16 years old. I wanted to kill myself. I was put into a center until I was able to get those thoughts out of my mind. And it took me to look at this girl. She was ready to leave the facility. And as soon as she was ready to leave, she started stabbing her arms with a pen with no pain. I don't know how she did that, stabbing herself multiple times in her arm. And when I saw that, I'm like, wow, why am I here? What am I doing with my life? I stopped thinking that way. It took me to see a girl stabbing her arms with a pen multiple times to realize that life is very precious. And I wasn't going that easily. I wasn't, I didn't want to kill myself anymore. I wanted to keep living. And I promised myself I was never, ever going to do that to myself ever again. And I wasn't even going to attempt. And you know what? I never did. I made it out of every situation in one piece, even though sometimes I wanted to fall apart. And I'm sure I am not the only person that experienced this. I'm sure there's like an experience in your life that you experienced somebody else doing something crazy and really knocks it into your mind. Why am I doing this to myself? Why? It took me at 16 years old to see a girl stabbing her arm 15 times or more with a pen without feeling the pain. And she just kept doing it. I was like, wow, what am I doing here? What am I doing with my life? Why am I wanting to kill myself? I knew my life wasn't easy. It wasn't. But to go out that easy, I wasn't going to let it happen. It made me a stronger person because I wanted to live. I wanted to have a life. I wanted to experience things. And I still do. So, I know there are probably experiences of yours that made you a stronger person in the end out of every situation that you may have dealt with. Believe me, you're not alone. You're not alone at all. There's probably hundreds, thousands of us that feel this way. But sadly, there are some people that have succeeded in killing themselves because they couldn't take things very well. But us, now that refuse to do that, makes us stronger. Makes us stronger to want to keep living. Keeps us stronger to keep on learning new experiences and learning ourselves as a person and becoming wiser every experience that we learn. This was not an easy thing for me to talk about, but I know there's a lot of people out there that probably have experienced many things like myself or different experiences that made you a stronger person in the end and still keeps you going regardless what hard times or even good times you have. It builds you up and strengthens you. It does. Well, I hope you got a lot out of this video. I I hope somebody, if you want to leave a comment or share some experiences of your own that maybe you had struggles with in your life and it made you a stronger person in the end. Share them with us. They've, but they have to be, they have to be your experiences, but nothing um, like putting another person down. You know what I'm saying? I want you to put like your experiences, just in general, your experiences. And maybe we can learn from each other our experience, knowing that we're not alone. And I would love to hear from you. Well, that was it for now. Have a good evening, and I will see you in my next video, the next one I make. Adios, adios, adios. Bye.